Hey everybody, my name is Brian Markowski, and today I'm going to be talking about how Max Knoll and Ernst Ruska invented the electron microscope in 1932. So here's Max Knoll on the right. He was born in Germany in 1897. He studied at the Technical University of Berlin, and then he got his doctorate in high voltage technology there. In 1927, he became the leader of the Electron research group, and that kind of channeled his interest into eventually discovering the electron microscope. And later in his life, he worked in the electrical engineering department at Princeton University. So here's who helped Max invent the electron microscope. His name is Ernst Ruska. He is a German physicist who was born in 1906. He originally studied at the Technical University of Munich, and then he later went on to study at the Technical University of Berlin, where he met Max Knoll. After his discovery of the electron microscope, he was the director of the Institute of Electron Microscopy at Fritz Haber Institute. And in 1986, he was actually awarded half a Nobel Prize, and he shared it with two other scientists who each got a quarter of the Nobel Prize. So the first electron microscope took its first photographic record on April 7th, 1931. The reason there's a big push for the improvement of microscopes simply just to achieve better resolution. And what they decided was that visible light, the wavelength of visible light, was limiting how high the resolution could be. So they decided to try to use a different light source. And by doing this, they proved that electron beams could be tamed to display visible images of matter, which was a pretty big discovery at the time. And it was capable of magnification by 400 times, which it can go a lot higher now, but that was still just getting the technology set at the time was huge. And there's different types of electron microscopes, but the original one was a transmission electron microscope. So here's a picture of what one of the first transmission electron microscopes would have looked like. So transmission electron microscopy. So it's pretty similar to how a light microscope works, except it uses electrons as a light source instead of light. So first, a light source at the top of the microscope emits electrons that travel through a vacuum in the column of the microscope. Then they use electromagnetic lenses instead of glass lenses, which focus the light into a very thin beam. The electron beams travels through the specimen, and some of the electrons scatter depending on the density of the specimen. So after the electrons scatter, the unscattered electrons hit a fluorescent screen at the bottom of the microscope, and this produces the image that they see. Then it produces a shadow image where different shades of the shadow leads to different densities of the specimen, so they can tell which areas are more dense than the others. So here's just a general image of how everything works. So the electron source is at top. It shoots down the electron beam, and it's focused in with the electromagnetic lenses. Then it goes down through the specimen, hits the bottom of the screen, which is the viewing screen, hits that fluorescent screen, and that's where you see the image. These are my sources. Thank you for listening.